Cadet Nog hooks the crew up with some Saurian brandy. Goldemar is a creature of habit, and Rom is quick with his hands. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and I don't know why I wanted to sound so suspicious there, but I didn't mean to. Today, we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 4, Behind Enemy Lines, written by Renee Echevarria, directed by, drumroll please, LeVar Burton. This was October 20th, 1997. How you doing today, Cirroc?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well. LeVar Burton directed this, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. It's a good episode. I mean, we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this 5-course dinner.
Because everybody knows the meat and potatoes is what everybody's looking forward to in a nice 5-course meal. In Ireland, they're like, preach. But everywhere else, they're like, meh. But yeah, I mean, Season 6, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a boring episode. This is just good stuff from head to toe. From head to toe. Who sang that?
Oh, God.
I just heard, I was like head to toe, and I was like, wait, ooh, baby. Who sings that? I don't know. Anyway, who cares?
I don't know. I can't tell. I'll tell you what, though. This is something I noticed something when they started this episode that I wish I get more of and had gotten more of up until this point. Mm-hmm. And that is opening with the captain's log. Episode opens with Sisko kind of, explaining the situation that we're, this is what we've been doing. And I wish I got that almost every episode because the sound of his voice, the way he kind of sets the tone, it makes a nice entryway into the story, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. It sets the table, and he's got a good voice for it. You sit down, you relax, you go, okay, take me away, Captain Sisko and Deep Space Nine. And he does say the Defiant is operating out of Starbase 375, conducting forays into Dominion-controlled space. And it is kind of a necessity for this kind of episode because we need to know where they are, what they're doing. Usually, okay, we open up on Deep Space Nine and Quark has some new plan to get some money out of somebody, whatever. But with this, where they currently are, we need to know what's going on. What's the story? Who's doing what? Where are we picking this up? Are we picking this up 2 months later? Are we picking this up tomorrow? What, it's a great way to start off. And then we get Nog hooking up the Saurian brandy, which is very cool.
That's another little nomenclature right there, a little Trekkian thing, right? The Saurian brandy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, Saurian brandy has been used a few times before, and it is in other Trek series. Up until, there was, I think, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I think one of those movies had a Saurian in the background, and everybody at home can tell me what episode that was. And it was just in the background, and people surmised that was a Saurian. And Linus on Discovery is played by David Benjamin Tomlinson, is a Saurian. So that is the first time we've actually gotten to see anything about a Saurian or hear them speak or anything. Up until that, if you ever just told a Star Trek fan, Saurian, all they'd know is brandy. They'd be like, well, all we know is they have brandy. That's it. They're known for their brandy, and that's that.
And they're called Saurians because they apologize a lot.
Very good. Yeah, they're Canadian.
Or that would be a sorry.
Yeah, or a Surian. Sorry.
Sorry.
To all of our Canadian friends, we're sorry.
We're sorry. No, we love you. And that's why we make fun. But no, I like the opening with the captain's log, sets the tone right away. Like you said, puts me in the space of, okay, this is where we're at in this war saga that's happening. Mm-hmm. And, we see the camaraderie of the ship. I think I mentioned this before in another review that we did, but I think there's a big necessity for a scene like this in which you see the entire crew together, celebrating. You know, they had that ceremony in which, you know, behind you in that picture behind you with the photon, you know, chamber being emptied out and the ceremonial ritual behind that. I think that's necessary when you are setting a tone for the kind of camaraderie that we see on a spaceship or in the military. These are the kind of moments that validate that what we're seeing feels authentic to me.
Yeah, and some people think they want to see a show that's always dark, but the truth is we don't. Even if you say, you know, I like something gritty, I like something dark, you got to throw something light in there. You got to throw some humor in there. You got to give them a win. You have to do something. There has to be ups or the downs don't feel like downs. And these kind of things, these feel like Star Trek. We recognize this feeling. So we're like, okay, I'm still watching Star Trek. They're just out in battle and they're doing whatever. There's this huge Dominion war, but there's still, like you said, that camaraderie and that Star Trek friendship and that demonstration that they all, you know, care about each other and that they're all still people that are just trying to survive. They're like, they can't just be warriors 24/7. They got to let loose, get drunk, and play with power couplings or whatever those things were.
And then the other thing is, you know, we saw Nog in the opening scene with the brandy, and I think what I really enjoyed about it was his line when he says, you know, I may be a cadet, but I'm also Ferengi. I think that was, I'm paraphrasing, but I just like that it's just a reminder. And you mentioned kind of the human moments. It's like, you know, this is the human, like, hey, I know I'm serving. I know we've got this whole thing going on, and you know, but I also know how to scrounge up some contraband if I need to, because those are my skill sets as, you know, as a Ferengi. So I thought it was a very a good moment for the crew there to kind of show us that they're all in it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then towards the end, when he brings the brandy again, and Sisko's like, "Don't ask where he got it," and Ross is like, "Don't worry, I don't want to know."
Yeah,
because I thought the same thing. I'm like, did he pay for it? Probably not. I mean, didn't he spend all of his money for the card, the baseball card? So then I'm thinking, did he trade like contraband or Starfleet secrets or intelligence? He's just like, I don't want to know. I just want to take a sip and move on with my life and enjoy it.
Yeah. Really good moment there. And then I also, you know, so since we're on the topic of Aron and Nog, I really enjoyed the moment that he had with Chief O'Brien as well. That scene between them where Nog, he's referring to Lieutenant Dax, right? And O'Brien kind of explains to him, like, you know, whoever's in charge, who's ever sitting in that chair is the captain. You refer to them as captain regardless of what their rank is. And I love the way how Nog's like, so if I'm sitting in the chair, like, it was a great moment. And then the comeback from O'Brien, I thought was perfect. It was like, by the time you're sitting in the chair, cadet, there'll be nobody left to call you anything.
Yeah, because like if he does end up captaining, you know, the Defiant, it means everybody is dead. It means literally, so he can call himself captain. He can be like, hailing frequencies on. Captain Nog here. Here I am. Check it out, everybody.
Yeah, it was a great line, great comeback. And also educating the audience about protocol on, you know, this is how it goes, cadet. Refer to Dax as captain. That's a captain to you now. Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Yeah, it's cool because, like you said, it informs us, because anybody that maybe has only watched Deep Space Nine, well, they had Commander Sisko, but by the time he was on the Defiant, he was a captain by then. So they were calling him captain. So we were never, maybe we saw Worf be referred to as captain at one point on the Defiant. But either way, it's good to let the audience know, hey, by the way, guys, yes, we're going to call Dax captain, and this is why. And we go, so it's kind of like, it's almost like O'Brien says, hey, it's an old naval tradition. Whoever is, in charge of the ship is called captain. It's almost like you went, or, just kind of like a little wink to the audience, like, okay, got it. Okay, moving on,
Yeah. Very good moments. And this episode was full of moments that were just, very well written. You mentioned Renee Echeverria. I love the dynamic of them kind of going through and touching all the stories. So there were so many stories there happening at the same time. It felt like a juggling act. Sisko over here with the Admiral, and then you got what's happening over on Tierney C and then you also have what's happening with Damar and his little. I love Damar in this episode too. I thought he's so I can't put myself on the word.
Cardassian.
He's so Cardassian.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah, he's kind of a bro in a way. He's a little bro-y where he's just like, whatever, Major, when Kira tries to get by and he tries to get in the way, or he's always loves his Kanar and the way he talks to everybody like they're inferior. This is a dude that does think he's superior and is counting the days until he's in charge of everything, like he's pretty loyal to Dukat, but he certainly is more loyal to himself. It seems almost as though he's hanging on to Dukat just to move up, saying this guy's going places and he's going to take me with him. More so than he's like, oh, Dukat, what a great friend. I'll stick with you through thick and thin, buddy.
Yeah. No, he thinks he's better than Dukat, and he has that arrogance about him. But interesting, it's funny because as you were describing, I kind of was thinking he's almost like he has the grumpiness of Odo's character.
Yeah.
When Odo's really agitated and grumpy and he just doesn't, he gets into his little bad attitude kind of mode. There's something similar to that about how Damar gets when he's like, move out of my way, Major. No, something,
Yeah. And, I did make a note that, where did I put it? I did make a note that Damar is getting growth in his character. Like he's finally getting, I put Damar's role is increasing. Before he was, originally he was just the guy that says, "I, sir," because Dukat, they needed somebody to say, "I, sir," to Dukat. Then they kind of bumped him up to like his lieutenant, his legate, and now his role is increasing. They're broadening his storyline and his character. We know that he loves his Kanar. He's punctual, borderline alcoholic, right? And he's easily swayed by the alcohol. He has now been promoted to Gull because of his ideas. And so now he's becoming his own character. Before, he was like an offshoot character in Dukat's storyline. He was just kind of Dukat's guy. But now he's getting his own storyline. It's his own character arc is growing. And it was really interesting to note that I feel like this is the first kind of significant blip in the growth of his character,
Yeah, he gets these little flashes, these moments that, there's so much going on and so many different storylines, and so many talented actors in this show that it's just like, one after the other. You go from him, then you have the Jeffrey Combs doing the Wei Yun character, and he's so amazing as Wei Yun. It's like he was just born to play this guy.
Totally. I like the way you move.
But going back to Damar, you were mentioning his growth, and talking about how you feel like this is like almost his a real big kind of jump in his character. We see him more, and he feels more present. But I was actually, going to go back to the point I made earlier, where I said there were things about him that remind me of Odo, and what kind of triggered that thought was Kira and Rom inside of Quark's bar in the opening scene as they were watching down, and they said, "Here he comes, here comes Damar, creature of habit." And then when I thought about a creature of habit, Odo is very much a creature of habit, very much a punctual, like, he's here, he makes his rounds. So I felt like there's something, that was one of the things that kind of was the inspiration for that idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. Odo is very, very much a creature of habit. And apparently we're being told that Damar is too. And he does carry himself with that sort of brooding confidence that Odo has, obviously Odo has a soft spot in Kira. Damar has a soft spot in Kanar. But you're right. There is a certain, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of Quark when he said Kanar with Damar or whatever.
Yeah, it rhymes. Damar, Kanar. And I thought the same thing before Quark said it. It was being talked about. And then Quark finally said the line, what we were all thinking at some point. But there's a similarity there. And that's another aspect of what this episode goes into, which is Odo's deep love or infatuation, romance with Kira, and how it is, he's starting to view it as a weakness, like as a vulnerability, as something that's, that I think he even said, I wish I didn't, I wish I didn't love Kira so much, because then, then I wouldn't be so vulnerable to these emotions and at her whim, at her will, whenever she wants me to be there. So I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, he says, sometimes I wish I could reach inside myself and tear out my feelings for her. Pretty good. I don't know if we want to get into that whole situation there. I think Melissa's probably going to have a lot to say about that, because she definitely likes to talk about Kira. But there's a lot there. That is a very good chunk of the story. Another good chunk of the story, by the way, is Jake Sisko being part of the resistance, that little 4-person resistance cell. That's so cool. And then when Kira tells Odo, he's like, I thought I said that was a bad idea. And she's like, yeah, well, and I talked about it with Rom and Jake, and then we decided that it was a good idea.
Odo, you've been it's an override that just occurred.
And now I'm wondering, I'm like, does that mean Jake Sisko convinced Kira when Odo was gone, or that Kira was just kind of like, when Odo was gone, she's like, all right, so here's what we're going to do.
I don't know if she needs much convincing when it comes to, joining a resistance and stirring up trouble. And also, I thought the idea was kind of brilliant when they started to talk about what the idea, which was, steal the pad from Damar, which had this information, which they then gave to the Jem'Hadar. I thought that was I was like, wow, this is going to start a kind of civil war within, in the station. And I thought more of it would actually come than what we saw in this episode, and perhaps more will come. And I'm just, foreshadowing, but I thought more would come from that information. It's like, whoa, limited white. Wait a second, and this is your plan to poison us. To me, that would warrant at least them getting rid of Damar.
And those scenes, I still can't get enough of the Weyoun and Dukat and Odo and female changeling scenes, like these kind of scenes where Weyoun and Dukat are bickering, and Weyoun is just vomiting on himself to the founder. Like, when the female changeling shows up and then they have their little squabble, but then Wei-Yun says, "We've imposed our presence on you too long." She came to him. She showed up and he's acting like, "I'm so sorry for taking up your time." It's so funny because like she's the one that actually showed up, but he's just groveling, and it's so good. It's so juicy. And what was it that Ducat said, where he said like, I've been doing this battle. He says, "You have, I assure you, I've been intimately involved in all of the battles."
Yes. And even when it started off, like she said, "How come you haven't deactivated the mines?" And he turned around. He's like, "Yeah, how come you haven't?" Like, just to echo it, like, I'm on your side. Just, she said it enough, but he had to double up on it, like, just to, why didn't you do that to Ducat? And there were other moments too. The two of them are just, I think the moment where
Abbott and Costello.
And Ducat, when Wei-Yun tells him to smile, he's like, "Oh my God, we still have to act like everything's fine." He puts his hand on his shoulder.
Yeah, and he does it so well with a big old smile, and Ducat's like, "I am smiling." And it looks like it's hurting him.
It looks like it's really hurting. Very, very well played out scene. I love how, Wei-Yun throws himself at the Founder's feet when, they show up. He's so much of an ass kisser. And then, yet he's also good at pressing Ducat's buttons and kind of exercising a little bit of momentary, authority over Ducat. He does it in a way where it's believable too, in my opinion.
Yeah, because at this point, the chain of command goes like Founders, then Vorta, and then the Cardassians and Bajorans theoretically report to the Vorta. And so he is technically in charge until the female changeling shows up. Then she's in charge. And I can't help but picture the writers and producers when, they made the decision once they had the first episode with Jeffrey Combs as Ducat, and they're like, okay, we've got to bring him back. He's too good. So then they made up the story about how, there could be 1 million of these guys because they're genetically created and cloned. Yeah. Oh, did I say Ducat? Sorry. Yeah, Wei-Yun. And they're just like, okay, this guy's too good. We got to bring him back. So they bring him back, and then they start feeding him more scenes and more storylines. And I can only imagine that every time they write another scene for him, they start picturing. They'll be like, "Oh my God, Jeff Combs is gonna be so good at this," and then they see the scene where because those are not easy lines to deliver. Like when the female changeling says, "Have you done this?" And he's like, "Yeah, have you done this?" Or, "I assure you, I've been intimately involved." Like, it's hard to do that in a way that's kind of believable. And he's just, any other actor, I don't know if they could do it. And he's just killing it. And I feel like by the second or third episode that Jeffrey Combs was in, the writers were writing for Jeffrey Combs. They know what he can do. They're like, this guy is going to knock it out of the park every time. And he does. And I just love watching it.
Yeah. I'm just going to push back a little bit on nobody else can do it. And that is, I think there are people that can do it. And one of the people that comes to mind is Andy Robinson as Garrick. I think he can do it. When he plays the, I'm at your command, whatever you need, he plays that pretty damn well too, in my opinion. So he's awesome at just that, I'm at your service, whatever you would like. And so I'm sure he could pull that kind of level of ass kissing that Jeff Combs is pulling off. I mean, as the character, but certainly it's top shelf level that is brilliantly done. And it's almost, because you have to be over the top to pull that off.
Yes.
And when you go over the top, it usually comes off as phony or not believable or not authentic, because you're like, oh, this guy's going, way too hard. It's obvious that he's, doing such and such, but he goes over the top, but it's so playful. It's like like a symphony or a violin, just like moving across. It doesn't feel aggressive. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't stand out against in contrast. It's very complementary to the scene, and likewise to the character himself. So I think it's brilliantly done.
Me too. And we'll talk a bit more about it on the other side of this break, because it's just about that time. So we'll be doing that, and we'll see you on the other side on The Seventh Rule.